I'll start with a review of our last performance, and first and foremost, from a availability standpoint, I'll talk about some of the guys and where they are. Arthur Millette was evaluated for concussion. We'll continue with that process and let the experts be our guide in terms of his availability and his participation during the course of the week. Najee's elbow, he's been aggressive in terms of the treatment. It'll slow him at the beginning portions of the week, and then we'll let participation and how he feels be our guide as we get closer to game time. Same with Robert Spillane and his knee. We're optimistic about all of those guys that I mentioned. Obviously, James Washington is still in the COVID protocol. We'll allow the protocol people to determine his availability. Anyone that was limited or unavailable last week due to injuries such as Dan Moore have a chance this week and are scheduled to participate starting tomorrow. We'll watch their participation and make divisional labor decisions based on what gives us the best collection of people. Kendrick Green, same thing. Kendrick is dealt with an injury. Then he had COVID limited his availability. We'll put him in the mix as well and see what that looks like. I preface that by also saying that we've been pleased with the work of JC at center, and so we've got some really good options there in terms of putting together a group as we push forward into this environment. About Baltimore, emotional game, we knew it would be. Tough game, obviously we knew it would be. But more than anything, I'm getting extremely comfortable just watching our guys smile in the face of adversity. I think we're collectively getting comfortable in many circumstances where we're most uncomfortable. I think we've been hardened by this process. It hadn't been an easy journey for us, and I think that we're getting comfortable with being in scenarios, and so I think we see those scenarios clearly. I think we're able to communicate in the midst of some of that. I think we're able to execute individually and collectively because of that experience. And so hopefully that helps us as we proceed into the playoffs. We understand that the playoffs is a different level. At least those of us that have been a part of it understand that the playoffs are a different level. And I think that's worth saying as well. We've got just a number of young guys who have gained quality experience through the course of this journey. And so they're not rookies anymore, but they are new to playoff football and the level of intensity and competition that's a component of playoff football will be new to them. And so there'll be an education process this week for those guys, by me, coaches, by their teammates who have been a part of it, in an effort to prepare them so that they're not surprised, so that they can have an opportunity to put their best foot forward. But just appreciative of all the efforts involved. Baltimore, we needed all of it. Obviously, our quarterback's ability to deliver down the stretch is well documented and appreciated. We needed turnovers, particularly the red zone turnover, Cam Sutton. Cam Sutton's interception, I don't think we have talked enough about that 7-point swing in that environment. When you get down there in the red zone, I thought it was really significant. It kept us close and kept us in play. And so we're not going to spend a whole lot of time analyzing that. We have big-time challenges in terms of preparing for Kansas City. We've been to Kansas City very recently. They handled us and handled us definitively. And so we understand that. But at the same time, we're not paralyzed by that. We accept that we didn't play well enough last time. We accept putting our guys in position to make more consistent plays, particularly in the weighty moments, situational ball, and going in and playing. We realize where we are in terms of the scarcity of these opportunities, man. We're just living in the moment, and really excited about doing so. But we better get ready physically. We better get ready mentally, emotionally, but because it's going to take all of us. They're a very talented team in all three phases. I'll start first with their special teams unit, just to kind of change it up for you guys. They got unbelievable continuity in the special teams game. The special teams coordinator is highly thought of globally. The coverage units are consistent. They got a nice personality in the division of labor. They have contributions from a variety of players. I'm always impressed with their offensive player contribution. Their wide receivers are really impressive collectively in the kick coverage game for a wide receiver group, for example. They've always got quality return game. We can't allow splash in that phase of the game. We just got so many challenges in other phases of the game that can't happen. We need to create a play in that phase if we can. Quality returns, etc. Dislodging the ball. We need a splash in that phase. Looking at their defense, man, that's a group that's really caught their groove over the second half of the season. They're led by Jones up front. Make no mistake about it, he is a talented guy. We talked extensively about him the last time. They got quality edge people from Frank Clark and Melvin Ingram. Melvin has been an awesome addition to him, particularly in terms of the point of attack. He takes a lot of the run game responsibilities. He plays on the tight end side or the three-man surface, and Melvin's the type of guy that you can't trade one-for-one with. This guy comes off one-on-one blocks and makes tackles. I mean, that was a big play he made last week. They got him out of that stadium, blowing up that run in the backfield. They got quality players at linebacker. The things that really have captured our attention is the growth and evolution of the young linebackers over the course of the journey. Bolton from Missouri, the rookie, and Willie Gay from Mississippi State. I've seen their roles emerge over the course of the season. I've seen their playmaking emerge over the course of the season. They're quality young people and guys who are on the rise as they push into the playoffs. They got big-time versatility in their secondary. Guys that are capable of doing multiple things. The Honey Badger is an awesome example of that. You can play them. You can play them in the deep middle, in the deep half. You can play him down in the box and blitz him. He's got a history at nickel. He's well accomplished in that area. In order to move one, you have to move others, and so they've got a collection of people that are somewhat interchangeable. The corners are aggressive and combative. They play on the line of scrimmage. And so they got a very good, solid collective unit who's been playing very well recently. They represented themselves very well against us. We got to be better this time than we were the last time we saw them. Starting first and foremost with taking care of the ball. You can't turn the ball over in this environment and expect to be competitive. We put them on short fields, I think, 3 times. They produced 17 points, and it's just, it can't happen, particularly if you're not getting turnovers, and we didn't. Since I'm talking about that, I'll talk about their offense. Obviously, it starts with Mahomes and his talents and his ability to challenge you schematically, structurally, but also in an ad-lib fashion as he extends plays. His ability to create time and space for himself and allow plays to develop is unique and challenging. He threw a red zone touchdown on us up there last time, and he probably held on to that ball 5 or 6 seconds. If he doesn't feel pressure that's not there, he's got a low pulse rate. I think that allows him to extend plays, and it's a big component of what they do. They get you in uncomfortable matchups down the field because of his ability to do that. You can't get caught with 10 down the grass as he does that, for example. You can't get caught with 87 down the grass as he does that. Those are going to be big plays. And so we got to rush him extremely well and smart. We got to work hard to keep a lid on it. All the while, we better be solid in the run game. I've known their coordinator, Eric Bieniemy, a long time and worked with him. This won't be a one-dimensional affair. If you overplay the passing game, he's more than comfortable and willing to run the ball on you and attack you in that way. And so we're going to be challenged in totality. But it's January ball, man. That's what we signed up for. That's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to living it out with the group that we have here and starting this preparation process we have as a staff. We'll continue with those guys as they come into the building tomorrow. I'll pause and open it up for questions.
Hi, Mike. I'm curious, did you watch the game Sunday night? How much of it did you did? What were you thinking when you're watching that thing unfold, and were you surprised they kicked the field goal to try to win?
I missed the end of it. I dozed off. I knew I had a work day waiting on me, or I assumed that I had a work day waiting on me. I think at one point Oakland was up by 15, and that number made you somewhat comfortable. I'm probably better off not having watched it. So it's probably not as exciting of a description as you would have hoped.
Mike, you mentioned this in your opener about playoff experience. This group doesn't really have a lot of playoff success. Is there much of a difference in your experience, or did these last 2 or 3 games provide maybe enough for that?
I'm not concerned about success. I am concerned about exposure. And so people understand what the environment is like, the intensity of it, how much detail is required, particularly to win in situational ball and things of that nature. Experience is good, whether it's positive or negative, the knowing. And so I'm less concerned about the lack of success, and I'm more concerned about those who haven't experienced it that play a significant role for us, some of which I mentioned.
Mike, talking with some of your guys yesterday, they pointed to the consistency in your messaging throughout the season as being especially important this year. From your perspective, just how key has it been to keep everyone focused through kind of the ups and downs and the maybe chaotic nature of this season at times?
I don't want to make a big deal out of that. That is my job. Football is an emotional game played by high energy men who are really emotional. And so they need to hear steady voice. They need to hear consistency in messaging and belief. And so it's my job to exemplify that.
Yeah, Mike, based on what happened 3 weeks ago in Kansas City, did you maybe learn what not to do against Mahomes defensively?
I don't know how much you learn from it, to be quite honest with you. They smashed us so definitively. More than anything, it's like a reboot.
Yeah, Mike in the back. 2 weeks ago, it was Ben's last home game. Last week could have been Ben's last game. Now Ben has another game. It sounds kind of cheesy, but can you continue to ride this this is going to be Ben's last whatever wave?
Those are our intentions, certainly.
When you play an opponent multiple times, like a division opponent or the Chiefs, how much can you actually really change? You've said to us many times you're not changing your personality. So do you have plays that maybe you installed in the spring that you haven't called out, or do you just try to do what you do better?
I'll say this, the changes are subtle for those that aren't in our business. The changes are significant for those that are. Not only changes that we make, but changes that they make. When you're watching the game at home through the lens of a television camera, it might not be significant. But the things that you do in these matchups, the alterations that you make in terms of concepts that you employ, whether it's offensive concepts or defensive concepts, are very significant. And particularly in situational football, possession downs, red zone, 2-minute, et cetera.
Follow really quickly. So then when you have so many young players, how much of a challenge is that to make significant changes in 1 week like this?
Again, significant might not mean that it's not subtle, but the weight of it is significant.
Mike, you mentioned JC and his play. What is it that you've liked about his play, and is it something that you weren't seeing from Kendrick?
No, I don't know that there's anything I wasn't seeing from Kendrick. I just appreciate JC, his professional approach, his communication skills, his desire to communicate and be a hub of communication, embracing that component of the position. It's just been a good few weeks for him.
Mike, obviously you want to give Mahomes and them as long a field as possible. Waitman had a pretty good week there a few weeks ago. Presley had some issues over the weekend in Baltimore. Do you anticipate keeping that position open competition this week?
We'll see what this week holds. We got some planning to do in that area in terms of the division of labor, but we also have it in some other areas as well. That's what the week's prep is about. The big thing for us is that we don't make too many decisions too quickly. Oftentimes when you have that mentality, the right decision reveals itself to you. And so I'm in no hurry. The game is on Sunday night.
Mike, is it a stark choice for you, given Mahomes' abilities to extend plays? Is it a stark choice between coming after him or to sit back and play coverage?
The bottom line is you can't do either too much. You better be prepared to do all of the above. When you play good people, you can't beat them in a one-dimensional way. You can't. And so it's going to take the full complement of what it is that we do, and then it's going to have to be done at a high level from an execution standpoint.
Mike, another guy that had to play along the line was Joe Hague. I know he had that face mask penalty, but other than that, how did he grade out?
Joe's a pro. Joe's a Swiss Army knife, as we like to refer to him as, because of his position flexibility and his availability. He did a great job, and we're appreciative of his efforts, but we always are.
Mike, when you look at Najee Harris, you said he's been aggressive in treatment, may have to be slow at the beginning of the week. How do you manage a guy like him that seems like he wants to go 110 miles an hour all the time to make sure he is as healthy as possible for Sunday?
That's a joy, to be quite honest with you. I'd rather say woe than sick him. It's a good issue and problem to have when you have a guy that's wired the way that he's wired.
Just like you, Andy Reid has been at this for a long time. What makes him not predictable? Or is he? Do you feel like you've got a great sense of his tendencies and what he likes to do in certain moments?
You know, I understand his personality, and we can't confuse personality with predictability. You know, they have a definitive personality, and that occupies a large volume of their plays. But they also do some very specific things as it relates to situational ball that ultimately defines the games, and there are obviously more variations week to week in that component of play. And most of the time in playoff football, that's the component of play that's going to be the difference.
Mike, I know that you said you had dozed off at the end of the game on Sunday, maybe like a lot of us. When you found out what happened and saw the circumstances at the end of the game, did you think about what you would have done? And if so, what would you have done?
I didn't.
Another one, sorry. We were talking about Ben Roethlisberger, and the way you put it is that when everybody else gets funny, he stays the same. Chase Claypool said that that's been a tremendous influence on him and that he actually approaches these moments differently because of Ben. Is this an evolution you've seen in Ben? Is this how Ben was the first time you met him? And the way that that bleeds into these young guys, Freiermuth, Claypool, how does that happen?
He was born with that. I'd imagine he has displayed that on every team that he's ever been a part of, all the way back to Findlay, Ohio.
Mike, you mentioned the adversity that you guys have faced kind of throughout the season, ups and downs. What does it say about the character of this team, especially the group in the locker room, that you guys are sitting here today preparing to play the Chiefs?
I can't say enough about the group, their buy-in, their fight, their selflessness. You're not in this tournament unless you're all of those things and then some. And so we don't think we're unique compared to the other 13 teams, but we are appreciative of what it is that we've had to do to be a part of this field, and we respect those that we're competing against in the same way, because we understand that this journey challenges all of us globally in similar ways. I'm sure it hadn't been smooth sailing for any of the other 13 teams.
Yeah, Mike, what does it say about Cam Sutton? You can move him inside, outside. You can use Witherspoon, Hayden. You're able to ease Hayden into that kind of brings us all together in the back end.
Much like I was talking about Honey Badger, Cam Sutton is that type of guy for us, and he's always been. He's outside corner capable. He's inside corner capable. He's safety capable. Many weeks he does all three in one football game, and so it adds good variation to what it is that we do. It makes us a tough nut to crack, and we're appreciative honest with you, that versatility in the draft. You know, sometimes you just got smashed, you know.
They didn't have Travis Kelce last game. That Hill didn't seem like he was as big of a part of their game plan as he usually is. How did those two change the complexion of defending their offense?
You know, I think they're probably better equipped to answer that in terms of the impact of the presence of those guys and what they mean. Obviously, we have, you know, a bunch of tape to look at, and we respect what they're capable of, their talents, and how they utilize their talents.
Mike, I know every year is different. You like to say that. At the same time, the last couple times you've been in the playoffs, you've been buried early in games and had to play catch up. This season, you've been buried in early in road games and had to catch up, including 3 weeks ago. What are you changing about your process to try to make sure that history doesn't repeat itself?
I don't know that we are as I sit here right now. I'm sure that makes you comfortable, but nobody's going to be comfortable in January football.
Mike, you talked about versatility with Sutton, but what about Edmonds, and especially when in regards to trying to cover a guy like Andrews last week and Kelce this week?
You know, that kind of comes with the strong safety position, at least in terms of how it is utilized in our scheme. Minka's a middle of the field player and keeps a lid on everything and ties things together. TE's challenges are coverage related, usually around a tight end, and there's some dynamic ones, and he always runs to that fight. He doesn't run away from it. I love his attitude regarding last week, but obviously this is a new week, and so he'll be challenged in a big way that way.
Anyone else?
You mentioned Minka, that play late in the game when they threw to Hollywood Brown and Minka goes in and he knocks the ball out. I mean, Hollywood was in and he gets the ball out. Is that something you teach, or is that Minka? Is that how heady he is?
Both. But that's not the first time we witnessed that. He made a big, significant fourth down play late in the game when we were in Cleveland a number of weeks ago. We get used to seeing Minka make significant plays like that. Not that his work is not appreciated. We could just anticipate it, and we've seen enough of it to know that it's coming and is needed.
Any more? Got it.
Mike, for your young guys, I mean, they come in, they're playing with a Hall of Fame quarterback. There's pressure associated with that, I would imagine. If I had a boss that was going to the Hall of Fame, I would, you know, be terrified and excited. Have your players, did you get the sense that maybe that pressure affected them early in the season, and maybe as the season has worn on, they've come to realize, hey, man, this is football?
I don't know that they view him as a boss.
Anyone else? All right.
Thank you.
All right, that's Mike Tomlin getting ready for the. Very interesting that he dozed off. Maybe that's the right way to deal with that kind of stress, because most people in Pittsburgh were not dozing off at the end of that game the other night when it went to overtime, especially.
Yeah, at halftime, I thought.
Yeah. Those type of questions, yo. And like, you heard how he laughed? Like, yo, I can't deal with that, man. It's crazy. Like, they show no respect to Mike Tomlin, man, the media, bro. Like, I don't know. Maybe I need to listen to other coaches' press conferences or whatnot, man, because, yo, some of the questions that people ask Mike Tomlin is like, what? Like, I just think about the Westbrook thing, you know? It's like, what? Not tripping. I'm out of here. You know what I'm saying? So I don't understand that, man. I don't understand that. My thoughts on the press conference, man, Mike Tomlin basically being Mike Tomlin, giving you a little bit, but at the same time not giving you anything to write a big story about. He with the Melvin Ingram situation, he deaded that out the gate, did nothing but praise the man. None of that hostage talk, none of that. So, like, Mike Tomlin on this press conference, yo, he was on some, like, yo, there's no material, bulletin board material is going to come from this press conference right here. And I won't allow you, reporters in here, to get me up out of my character. Even though I saw him a few times, like, really get mad about certain things. You know, in my favorite. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was able to get through the questions, answer everything. I love when it was like, you try to basically say, yo, Ben, something like, if he gonna play next year, like, Mike Tomlin was like, no, we're sure. This is it for him. He's not coming back next year. That's a dub. Big Ben, great career. You feel me? But I don't know why these reporters try to ask Mike Tomlin these questions all the time. But when you go to the ESPNs, the Foxes, and all those type of people, you go to them, and they only talking about Ben need to retire. Ben need to get out of there. Ben needed this, and that. But when you talk to Mike Tomlin, you watch his press conferences, they try to make it seem like Ben can play another year. Can he? Ha, ha, ha. This is try to get him to get Ben out of here. But it's like, yo, Mike Tomlin stayed on his toes, all 10 of them, every time. Big step of Mike Tomlin. I need to start showing him some respect, man. But, yeah, man, of course he gave Patrick Mahomes his flowers, Honey Badger his flowers. Of course the stars over there. He's not scared of Andy Reid. You know, but I'm still kind of taking it in, like, yo, we made the playoffs, you feel me? So it's like, I'm taking this in, like, I'm living in the moment. I'm really only living on Tuesday. Like, I'm not thinking about Sunday. I'm not even thinking about tomorrow. You know, the Stills for 7 podcast comes out tomorrow, you know. Might actually have 2 episodes come out this week. It's that type of thing. We didn't expect this to happen, so it was a whole lot of content to be like. It's a whole lot of content. But man, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow. It's on the bottom on the ticker here on IG, Stills for 7 podcast. Also, make sure you guys get in tune with the Venture Season Network. You see it down on the ticker, man. Powered by the Venture Season Network, man. Follow that on Instagram as well. Shout out to the family members. And get in tune, man. I'm gonna be going live on Instagram too later on, man. So make sure y'all get in tune. Tomorrow I'll be back streaming when Ben gives his press conference, and we're gonna keep this thing going, man. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Let's get it. We got to surprise somebody. Is it going to be an upset? We'll see. Only time will tell.